Hi. This is a dream I had May 11th of 2021. January 21st of 2021, we took a walk and she fell in the yard and she refused to she was like, Meg, go look, get that stake out of the yard, out of the ground. And she pointed the opposite way. And then all of a sudden she was like this and I couldn't get to her and it was awful. So I called my sister, my middle sister, the next day. She flew in and we took care of my mom and helped my dad. So it was pretty much constant. And then she got better from that. And then on May 6th, one of my friend's bosses broke her arm. And then my middle sister came and helped me take care of this woman. She has a huge house and we would stay across the hallway, which was, it's like, it wasn't a city block, but it was really far to get to her room because it was the opposite side of a mansion, basically. So we were doing that, and she was into fashion, and I had a fashion degree. That was my first degree, and I never really did anything with it other than work at Hullabaloo as in the warehouse helping with movies. But anyway, so she gave me all these books to look at from fashion. And then I was so excited to have a Bible. And granted, back then, I didn't need these glasses at all. And this is my NIV that my sister gave me. And it was in the dream. So I would take this Bible and put it on top of this huge pile of books because she was so excited that I had a degree in fashion. So when she went to bed, she's like, you can read all these books. So I didn't want to be mean or nasty or anything, but I would put my Bible on top of it and just read. And I think I was in Kings or something. I had finished by May. I had finished the New Testament and I had been working on the Old Testament. So anyway, but my sister, when I had the dream in January 10th of 2021, she was really adamant. She's like, because she thought the dream I had January 10th, because it had COVID in it. She's like, that's from Satan. She was like, unless it has to be in the Bible. If it's not in the Bible, then it's not from God. It's not from God. So this next one, I don't even think I told her about this because I don't know if I told other people, but I didn't think it was from the devil at all. So, I mean, I know some people are like, oh, you're possessed. You're supposed to speak in tongues. Not everybody has the same gifts anyway. So I don't think anyway. So May 11th, I had this Bible in my hand. I was reading it. And evidently, I'm not sure what I was reading, but there was a man that was right behind me. We were walking down steps and it was in Jerusalem. They were like big old steps. And he said, what is the prophecy of the day? And I looked around and I said, Ezekiel 38 and 39. And he had, I didn't know exactly what he looked like, but he was thin. He had glasses on and he had a coral colored yarmulke on, which I thought it was a Jewish man for a long time. And I was like, anyway, so I looked around and it didn't seem to bother me that he had gotten so close. I mean, he'd gotten right behind me. He wasn't right behind me at first, and then he was when he asked me, what's the prophecy of the day? And I just said, I was reading while I was walking, which I never do that. And I said Ezekiel 38 and 39. And I looked this way. And then all of a sudden I looked this way and it was like I was talking to God, but I was really are you kidding me? What I said was, this is him? This is Mr. Wonderful? And then all of a sudden I looked this way and his right arm goes like this. His right arm embraced me. And I was like, I've never felt so much love from a human being other than my mom or holding a baby. I mean, but from a grown man, and it wasn't gross. It was like this. His right arm embraced me. And that was 2 days before the day of Ascension, which I didn't know anything. I went to Kirkwood United Methodist from 3rd grade through high school, and I was forced to go. and they would read like two verses from a psalm and 2 verses from the New Testament, and then it was an hour sermon from somebody talking about their life. I don't know how anybody knows the Bible when they go to church. If there's a church that you go to where they actually read an entire epistle, can you even imagine? Sorry, I could go on forever. It's like, why don't they do that? I don't know. Anyway, so the next day, we had problems because if I had to do another shift towards the end of this 2-week period, we were working 14-hour shifts. So I overslept on the 12th. I had the dream on the 11th, and I wasn't there. I was at my apartment. The 12th, May 12th, I overslept. I woke up at 8:07. I was sleeping in the guest bedroom across from the woman that I was taking care of in this huge mansion, and this hallway was long. I mean, really long. This is like it's more than half of a basketball court. I mean, it was long. It was really long. Anyway, so on the 12th, when I was in the guest bedroom, I woke up to a voice that asked when I woke up with this woman. And I said at midnight, at 2:30 a.m. and 4:50 a.m. And then the voice asked me lastly, what time is it now? And it sounded like Alexander Scorby, and I had been listening to Alexander Scorby reading the Bible, so I thought I was like, God, sounds like Alexander Scorby. Anyway, so when the voice said, what time is it now? I looked down at my phone, which was in bed with me, and it said 8:07, and I looked across the hall and I saw the woman I was taking care of with a cat. And I heard, the last thing I heard from the voice said, the measure of her judgment shall be the length of this hallway. And I was getting up. I got up. I think I got up after I heard that, but I was like, it happened pretty quickly because I felt really bad that she had gotten up without me helping her because I didn't want her to fall or anything. In the end, she said that the cat woke her up. And when I saw her with the cat way across the hallway, and I didn't need glasses then, but it's a big hallway, I didn't think that God meant that it was judgment on her. It was so weird. After that, people started getting hurt. And I feel really bad about saying this, but I'm not saying like God just defends me for no reason, because I usually am defending him, defending the word of God as it's God's word. And they say, well, it's inspired. And I'm like, actually, it's eternal. And people that really believe in God wrote it down. Nobody wrote the Bible. No human being wrote the Bible. God wrote it. So the first time that happened, my friend that hired me actually was walking and shattered her wrist. And that was a while after that, but it was in July. So that was like 2 months later or something. Anyway, so I didn't think anything right away, but I thought it was God. And when I first was born again, like I never had guns. I've always been scared of guns, but I used to carry off because I worked in bars and they were pretty brutal. And I also had a taser. I dated a cop for a while, and for some reason he didn't seem to know. He told me to get a taser, and then he didn't seem to know how to load it, and he loaded it wrong. So like within the first 3 days of being born again, I got rid of all my off and my taser, chucked them. And I was like, I'm just gonna trust you, God. But when I heard that, I was scared. I was like, oh crap, like, you mean business, what happened? But later on, it became more evident that God really was protecting me, like big time. I went to 3 different churches. One of them, for some reason, they were like asking me how, I think they were into Kabbalah and Gematria. They were like, how do you spell your name and where are you really from and all this stuff. It was really weird because one week I came and they're like, you didn't find it, you didn't know? We all fell. And I'm like, would you go hiking? And they're like, no. like this woman who's really sweet, and she's definitely born again. Her husband, her fiance, got dragged behind a truck at 2 miles an hour and fell. And her son got his right eye knocked out with a rock. And his 2 daughters fell individually and got totally beat up. When one person breaks their wrist, okay. But when I heard that voice, I was like, wow. So when I went to the Messianic church and that happened to an entire family except for the woman that was born again, and they were harassing me, I was like, okay. Then I went to my parents' church, and the men that don't believe in God, that they just go with their wives because they want to be part of Sunday school. And I can tell because they just give me this look. Like when my mom was alive, I was accepted. But there were certain men that I knew didn't believe, and they, not all at once, had some really horrible falls. There's some men in there that totally believe in Jesus. And these men really, really got messed up. One in particular. But they don't believe, maybe one day, that sort of thing. Then I went to another church, and there was a man in there that was just saying nasty things to me, like in between Sunday school and church. And I'm single. I was single then, and I was really uncomfortable, and I didn't feel comfortable. And he was gone a couple weeks, and then he came back, and all his front teeth were popped out. All of them. So I'm not bragging. I'm just saying, like, when I say that God protects me, he has. He's amazing. And anyway, so I don't know what this means. And since then, I've met a lot of people that think we're going to get raptured before anything happens. And I just keep asking God, are we going to Jerusalem? Are we going to Jerusalem? I had a TikTok post that had a lot of people on it, and I don't get a lot of views ever. And I was like, am I getting extradited to Israel? Because that'd be a free trip. Anyway, thanks for listening. That was a big deal to me. I've never felt so much human love from a man in my life, and I've been married and divorced. And then, I almost forgot. God honors anniversaries more than we do. So, May 2023, 2 years after I heard God's voice, my mom went home at 11:28 p.m. and my dad called it, and my dad's a very physical person. Like, has to see it, whatever. So when he got his law degree, he bought this yoke, a literal yoke, like an oxen yoke, and put it over the fireplace. And I didn't know, like, one of the verses on my fridge has always been Matthew 11, verses 28 through 30. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And so he called it 11:28, and we all talked about that verse afterwards because that was one of her favorites. But I thought that was amazing that 2 years later, that's when she went home. And when she went home, I actually thanked God because she really wanted to go. And we had a friend that was on a ventilator, and I had a double prayer. I said, will you please save him because he's young and he still wants to tell people about Jesus and take mom home. And he answered my double prayer that week. She went home before Mother's Day, and he was better by the end of the week. So anyway, thanks for listening. And I'd add one more thing, I might. So I was getting rid of, I've gotten rid of so many things, and I have a lot more stuff that I could get rid of. But I found one of those things, all about me, that you do in kindergarten, first grade, whatever. And I found mine, and I don't think I would have ever looked at it ever again. My mom had saved all that stuff, but I got rid of most of the stuff. But I found this, And I found a picture, and this says, "My name is Megan. I am 7 years old. I weigh 60 pounds and I am 49 inches tall. My hair is yellow and my favorite color is red." And it reminded me of the 60 pounds of flour that Sarah kneaded into, you know, the yeast into the dough, like when Jesus talks about heaven, and 49 inches and 7. I was like, that's 3 sevens. And here's me in first grade. I don't know if you can see it. And we had a teacher that was a little bit grooming. I don't think she meant it, but everything was warm fuzzies or cold pricklies. And so this little thing I wish for 4 things is, the second thing is definitely I've been groomed to say something to make her happy. So it says, "I wish for love and warm fuzzy. I wish for God to come here. And I wish for Mother's Day." So I was just like, wow, it's 7. I said, I wish for God to come here and Mother's Day, and Mom went home 2 days before Mother's Day. Anyway, thanks for listening. I appreciate it. God bless you.